Did you know your business can honor God while transforming lives around the world? Welcome to the iBAM Biblical Entrepreneurship Show, the weekly podcast that inspires and equips Christian entrepreneurs to build sustainable businesses that glorify God and uplift impoverished communities. At iBAM, our mission is built on the three fish metaphor. Give a fish. We provide startup loans to launch businesses. Teach to fish. We offer entrepreneur training for lasting growth, equipped for discipleship. We empower discipleship to multiply impact. Join iBAM's founder, Steve Adams, as he shares powerful solo episodes and expert interviews filled with mentorship insights and real-life stories of how biblical entrepreneurship is advancing the Great Commission. Subscribe now and get ready to be inspired, equipped, and empowered to make an eternal impact.
Hi, Steve Adams here with the iBAM International Businesses Mission Kingdom Impact Summit. And our guest in this moment is Carrie Summers. Carrie is the founder of the Nehemiah Group, which was formed in 1998 and has developed many global projects. He's been recognized as a leader in Israel tourism, and he serves on several not-for-profit USA boards. Mr. Summers, interestingly, was the president of the Museum of the Bible. Today is the president emeritus. Steve Green and Carrie spearheaded the creation of the Museum of the Bible. That organization, the planning, the implementation, the construction, and the opening operations in Washington, D.C., plus many other programs formed under the Museum of the Bible. Before his work with the Museum of the Bible, Carrie was president and CEO of the Hershen Family Entertainment Silver Dollar City Corporation, one of the world's largest theme attraction operators. He previously served as vice president for retail, catalog, and wholesale for Bass Pro Shops, and was the general manager of Abercrombie & Fitch when it was the world's oldest sporting goods company. Mr. Summers also is president emeritus of the Nazareth Village, located in Israel, co-founder of Treasures of the Holy Land and Destination Concepts and Development. Wow, Carrie, welcome to the iBAM Summit. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm looking forward to it.
You know, one of the jokes I have when people read my bio, it's long and I've had a lot of careers, I just say, well, when you're old, you have a long bio.
Yeah, that's right. Well, the people ask my kids, what does your dad do? And for the last almost 30 plus years, they say, we have no idea. He's just calm all the time. We don't know.
That's the same my kids say.
Yeah.
So that's really neat. Let's go all the way back to Bass Pro Shops. Was that right after college when you joined them?
No, that was, was with a sporting goods company called Oshman Sporting Goods. They were out of Houston. They were the largest in the world at the time. They bought Abercrombie & Fitch out of bankruptcy in 1978.
Wow.
Shortly after that, the couple of years, they asked if I would take it over as general manager, and we developed it to 27 stores.
As sporting goods still, or did it shift?
Yeah. It was the oldest sporting goods company in the world. It outfitted every president of the United States since 1892.
Wow.
With sporting equipment. Teddy Roosevelt,
Teddy.
That was him. That was their clothing, so forth, so forth. And so the company needed, it was a public traded company, so there was a need to generate cash in that world. And Abercrombie was really the only thing that we had to sell. And so we sold it. But during that period of time, John Morris, who started Bass Pro Shops, really loved Abercrombie & Fitch, the fine guns, the sporting lifestyle. Of course, that's what Bass Pro was. Abercrombie was at a higher level of clientele, and he really liked that. So when we sold it, I had gotten to know him. When we sold it, he asked if I would come to Springfield, Missouri, and help him develop Bass Pro Shops with the many things that we had learned, because he also had a very large catalog. Back in those days, there was no internet for ordering.
Well, that was the internet.
Exactly. And at Abercrombie & Fitch, we had one of the leading catalogs in the world, plus retail stores. And there's always that there was always that issue of do you pirate sales from your retailer if you do a catalog, and how do you do that, and how do you do that? And we had figured out the formula how to do that. So he wanted that, and so we came to Springfield, Missouri. That's how I got to Missouri, and helped him develop the retail catalog concept together, and became very obviously he's the largest in the world now. So
yeah, and when you went there. Was it anything? Was the beginning of what it is now? Were these big stores? Had he
Yes.
started that yet? Okay.
Yes. He had done one, and he had expanded it a little bit.
Yep.
And so when I got there, he had the one store, and then we worked on expanding it further within that one unit, and then expanding the catalog business into various thematic catalogs. Before he had one
Yeah.
big catalog. It was like the Sears and Roebuck catalog. That's what it is.
Yeah.
But then we created these minor catalogs, which was a lot cheaper to produce and get out, and more specialized customers. So we developed the strategy behind that, and then developed the strategy of how do you go to store number 2.
Yep.
And so I helped him do that and laid out that strategy, which, according to him, they used for many years on their expansion. I then left and went into the theme park business. But
in Missouri there, right? Because I've been to that place. Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you there? So when were you there? Did you go there like in the 80s?
Yes, I was with Bass Pro in the late 80s, and then went to Hershon Family Entertainment. Back then it was called Silver Dollar City Corporation. Yeah. And took over as president, CEO of that in 1992.
Got it. Well, you know what? One of my roles in life was a multi-unit franchisee. We had almost 50 stores, and I know, man, what it takes. It's a lot to go from one. Actually, 1 to 2 is the hardest adjustment.
Right.
And then after that, it's easier mentally, but it's a tremendous amount of work to add and extend a chain and extend geography and maintain culture while you do that.
Right. Yeah, we've done a lot of consulting. Obviously, when we formed the Nehemiah Group, it was not only a VC fund, but also a consulting firm. And I tell people, after you get store 3 done,
yep,
then you can say, okay, I may have this somewhat figured out.
Yeah.
But store 1, we call it Jerusalemize. Everything is bigger than life. It's hard. Yep. Store 2, I got it. No, I don't have it, because I didn't know that was going to happen when you had 2 stores. By store 3, okay. And I tell people, that's when you start to get smart.
Sure.
At that point.
Yeah. Well, as you were doing all that in the early years, then we're going to jump to Nehemiah and some of the things you've done recently. As you were doing that, you were a young man, had a family, all that. Because one of the things, I was just talking to Mike Bear. He's kind of like one of the founders and godfathers of the modern business as missions movement.
Right.
And he said, people in our generation, we had to unlearn the secular sacred divide that was taught widely. Mm-hmm. Was that your experience? Did you have to learn that and overcome some of those things? What was it like for you in those times when you were trying to be a Christian in the marketplace?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the biggest help for me is when and I'll just give you the 1-minute background. I was constantly looking for ways to improve our management team's skill set.
Yep.
And so even at Bass Pro Shops and Abercrombie & Fitch even, I would use outside consultants and send our people to seminars, and many of them were Christian based, but Abercrombie & Fitch was Jewish owned, so it wasn't. It wasn't part of the. We weren't in the mode of everything had to have a Christianese to it. And so what I learned through all that by using Disney, using Ritz-Carlton's, using Stu Leonard's in Newark, Connecticut, the largest milk store in this world, had great training. Cornell Hospitality College, University at Cornell. I kept, and I went to some of them because I wanted to see.
Sure.
I think people would come back and say, we've learned a new principle. Oh, well, what happened to what happened last year's principle that you learned when you went last year? Well, that's changed. Is it? I said, well, that's not a principle then. A principle is something that never changes. It's like gravity. That's a principle.
Yep.
I said, there's got to be something out there that has this basis of forever in the world of management.
Yep.
And, Drucker was out there with his material, and you had 7 Habits was out there, and he and Blaine Lee had done their thing, and they still didn't quite hit the button. And I stumbled onto the Book of Nehemiah.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I was clueless, but somebody had mentioned it in a passing comment about how much they had learned about just how to manage things.
Yeah.
So I said, well, I'm going to learn from that. So it became a magnet to me, and I've ended up writing, of course, a lot of material and books on it now.
Yeah.
But what that is what changed there. That's what it wasn't that I had to unlearn anything. I had to learn how God would have done it.
Yep.
Now, there was those, Jesus CEO. There was a lot of good books, but they were being driven down a very Christian road, which was fine. Yeah. But my audiences and what I was dealing with were just core business principles that were godly based, because they weren't going to change, but did not necessarily have a evangelical slant to them.
Sure.
Because the companies I was involved with didn't have it. So that's what that to answer your good question, that's what did it for me, was getting into that.
Well, it makes sense. Recently I had to preach at a church about the theology of work, and one of the things that I always share in that is that there's really 2 commissions for the Christian. In Genesis 1:26-28 is our first commission.
Right.
And that's that thing to go out and subdue and to create culture and to improve people's lives and promote human flourishing. And we do that in business. And what you're really saying when I listen to you is there are timeless principles from the Word that you can secularize even and be effective in, and it can draw people to God through that.
Yes, I was asked to go to Russia, long story, many years ago. And it was a sort of a semi-U.S. government thing. But they said, could you teach Nehemiah these principles that you've developed? I developed 62 different principles out of Nehemiah without saying they're from the Bible. I said, yes, I can do that. And I did. Now, at the end, there was about 50% expats and 50% Russian.
Yeah.
Yeah, and most of them had figured it out. Oh, that's from the Bible.
Yeah.
But I never went there. I never had to.
Right.
When they realized that, wow, the only thing that could sustain this long, and using some of the examples I was using, it had to be the Bible. And sure enough, that it is. And so I've unlike you, I don't necessarily have to wave the Bible flag.
Right.
And many of the examples I use in a new book coming out are CEOs who have used those principles who may have never opened the Bible, but they were successful because they were using godly principles, not even knowing that.
Right. Yeah. When we built our pet chain, we had 3 core principles, and it was from research by a secular researcher, and it was purpose, path to mastery, and empowerment.
Yeah.
And when you look at those, that's very, very similar to a biblical model of discipleship, meaning you have the greatest purpose in the world, the gospel.
Right.
You have to equip and train people. And then when they learn, you empower them. And if that is in the Bible, so I applied that to the business, and we did radical empowerment. We had 16-year-olds writing $30,000 orders.
Right.
And it was unbelievable how the organization took off and how we were able to scale leadership with that core biblical model of discipleship. But we didn't call it that. We called it purpose, path to mastery, and empowerment.
Right.
And it was amazing how many, they were like, where did you get this? And it was like, well, I got it in research, but let me tell you that it's timeless. It goes all the way back to biblical times.
Right.
Tell us about the book you were going to release.
Well, it's on the Nehemiah. It's
okay.
It's a it's really a book of the principles that we developed over the last 40 years from Nehemiah. And but it has the chapters are you got 62 principles. Basically, you can put them under about 10 to 12 different hats.
Yep.
And these chapters relate stories about people who have used them. And again, they're not spiritual giants. They're maybe giants within their industry,
Yep.
but they use certain principles. And I was so curious about that. These are good people.
Yep.
No stories in there about bad people, but they're not necessarily stories about a walk with Christ.
Right. Yeah.
And it was quite enlightening for me to see that if those principles are implemented within a business, and in Russia we found out most of those Russians who were there said, "Look, we can't." After they found us from the Bible, they said, "We can't put this stuff in our company. We're Russian-owned, government-owned."
Yeah.
And I'll just share this quickly, not a rabbit trail, but
That's okay. Take your time.
One of the people that was there is a director of at the time was 10% of the gross national product in Russia was a Russian oil-owned company, and he was a director, and he was there. I didn't know. He just introduced himself last day. That was it.
Yeah.
Had my cards, sent me an email several weeks later, said, Kerry, I really enjoyed that. I'm a director at and there's no way I could even put those principles up on, because I had one sheeter that I left them with that you could use.
Yep.
He said, but what I did do is I have 6 children, and we've implemented them in our home.
Oh, wow.
And it's changed our home.
Wow, that's cool.
So what I'm learning is, and hopefully we capture in this book, that it's one thing, you can read these principles. I can give them to you right now, and within 15 minutes you can read every one of them, because they're one-liners. But unless you implement it, they really don't mean anything. So that's what this book's about, is when you're implementing God's ways, His integrity, His methodology, like you said, how you treat people, how you do this.
Yep.
It's amazing how it works. So that's what
and you can almost stand out of the way and watch it happen. What's the name of the book?
Well, it's one of those. I have a lot of names for it, but whoever the publisher will pick the name.
Oh, I see. It's not ready yet. I see.
Well, it's in manuscript form. Yeah.
Okay. When's it going to come out, do you think?
Well, that's a good question too. If you understand that,
I do.
It's almost finished.
Okay.
Had some help with a fellow who helps on writing, but again, there's just little nuances that I'm not quite pleased with. So, it's a back and forth process.
Sure,
my
sure.
schedule is such, I can't. I wished I could just take off in a few weeks and go.
I know.
I can't do it. So
when I published a book in 2020, I wrote it. It was about how to get a high flow lifestyle, like a flow state.
Right.
And it tied into one of the businesses I'm in now. And I wrote it in March and April. It was about a 70,000 word book. I wrote it in 8 weeks.
Wow.
Yep. Well, because I did the research in the first quarter, had all my research organized by chapter and summarized. So I just had to go into writing mode. And I actually wrote every word.
Wow.
No ghostwriting. But from the end of April, it took all the way to January to get it through editing and everything else. It was just like, oh my gosh, is this thing ever coming out?
Exactly right.
And that was actually short. Some people take 2 years for that process.
Right.
So anyway, just as a little aside.
Well, I think on this one we're gonna it's back and forth, but I think I would rather just self-publish it so I can just give it away free.
Yeah.
And because I do a lot of speeches and people ask, "Oh, do you have a book?" And I'd love to say, "Yeah, here, take it." And
so one thing we should think about when we end this interview is somehow give people a way to find you that doesn't invade your personal space.
No,
then we can create a waiting list for you from this event.
Well, we have a one page we could send them even today, which we've done thousands of them, truly.
Okay.
And it's one-liners for the 62 principles. Here's
Okay.
what that meant, and here's the scripture reference. And that's it. No commentary. And I was recently in New York at a function in New York, a fellow that, it's a birthday party for a friend of mine.
Yep.
And I saw this guy. There was about 40 people, so it was a small party. And he came up to me and said, "Kerry, do you remember me?" And I said, I remember the face. He said, he identified himself. And I said, "Oh, of course, absolutely." He said, last time we saw each other was in Moscow when you came over to do the Nehemiah Principles.
Wow.
And I said, "Well, how many years?" He said, "It was 20 years ago."
Wow.
And I said, "Wow." He said, "I want to tell you the story." He said, "That group you met with, there were several Americans," which of course there was, and of course Russians. He said, "That group, we meet every other year in West Palm, Florida, and we meet for 2 days, and we spend one day going over that one page that you left with us."
Isn't that something?
And his name is Bob. I said, "Bob, that was 20 years ago." He said, "Yeah, we still use it. We're still using it."
They're timeless. Yeah.
It is, and that's the whole point of I think any of these books. There's a lot of books. I have a couple thousand books here in our library at the office. But there's, I have a little stack over here that I always refer to.
Yeah, there's a handful, right?
Right,
Yeah.
and that's what I hope this book would become, is a tool.
Good. People
Just a
use it
tool.
over and over.
Yeah, look it up.
What we'll do is we'll get a copy of that and we'll embed it into the summit notes so people
Okay.
can get it. And
Yeah,
then,
I'll send you those. Yeah.
yeah, and if it's got a way to reach you somehow so people can get the book, that would be a great way, because we're anticipating many thousands will be on this summit, and so it could generate a lot of interest for you. Just as an aside, I know this isn't part of the summit, but there is a platform for self-publishing called bookbaby.com.
Oh yeah, we're
Okay,
pretty
good.
familiar with them. Yeah.
Yeah. I have pretty good experience with them. So
Yeah.
I agree with you. When you self-publish, you can use it the way you want to,
Right.
right? Because I'm sure you don't care about being in Barnes and Noble and all that. So
Well, when we built Museum of the Bible, I had 100 academics working for me.
wow.
They know every self-publisher in the world, and so I appreciate that very much.
Sure.
I think we're in pretty good shape on that. Yeah.
Thank you for listening to the International Business as Mission podcast, a space where we explore how to build businesses rooted in biblical principles that create global impact. But we're not just here to talk. We're taking action to spread entrepreneurship to poverty-stricken communities around the world. Our mission is to be the catalyst that empowers people to build sustainable livelihoods and break the cycle of poverty. We follow the 3 fish principle. 1, give a fish, providing startup loans to empower entrepreneurs. 2, teach to fish, offering entrepreneurial training for sustainable business practices. And 3, equip for disciple making, building a community that supports spiritual growth alongside business success. This is life-changing work, but we can't do it alone. We need passionate impact partners like you to join us on this mission by becoming a donor. Your generous gift will directly fund the establishment of new businesses that provide dignified work and hope. Just imagine your donation could help a single mother in rural Africa start a small farming venture that allows her to feed her children and send them to school, or a young man in Southeast Asia to launch a small business. Breaking the chains of generational poverty. This is the power of entrepreneurship as a force for good. Will you join us in unleashing it? Go to ibam.org now to start impacting lives through the transformative power of business as mission. Together we can create a world of flourishing.